My wife cheated on me with a former jock, so I drove through the motel wall and ruined them both. The next story shifts to a different narrative. I recall reading that in a huge survey, over 90% of people claimed to have stated the same thing after a car incident. It was not a multiple-choice question, rather it required filling in the blanks. Perhaps it wasn't the best moment to find humor in this circumstance, but I found myself agreeing with the majority. It dawned on me that this was the first time I was the cause of an accident. Previously, I was the one who was smacked in the face by the airbag during impact. Surprisingly, I felt no pain. A couple of silver linings, there was a strong odor of radiator fluid, indicating possible damage, and I also detected a whiff of brake fluid. Surprisingly, I did not feel bewildered. The actuality of the scenario did not meet my expectations. As I sat there thinking about it, I realized I hadn't really anticipated how it would play out. On the good side, there was no odor of fuel or smoke. Although my truck had stopped running, it appeared that returning to work was out of the question. I had a nagging feeling that my truck would smash into the wall, breaking glass everywhere. Did it happen that way? Hell no, it was much worse. My truck not only crashed into the wall but also plowed straight through, totally inside. If I could find a mirror, I'd see how far I'd gotten into the room. However, with my face crushed against the airbag, visibility was completely obscured. I had no idea how much time had elapsed when a concerned voice asked whether I was wounded. How was I expected to respond with my lips on the airbag? The disturbance escalated and a woman yelled, "People are injured!" My God, this is horrible. She clearly wasn't referring to me, which was a relief. Sirens sounded in the distance. Compared to ambulances, fire vehicles make a unique sound. I assumed one of each was about to arrive on the scene. It was chaotic. They were giving priority to the badly injured. They used a chain and a winch to drag my truck back into the bright midday sun. I came out with only minor scratches and bruises. Another ambulance was loading a stretcher. The first one had left a few minutes earlier. After a pat-down, they pushed me, shackled, into the back of a police car. Losing control of your truck appears to be a risky proposition. At least I wasn't an immigrant facing a possible 110-year prison sentence. I'm not sure why they didn't take me away right away, but it allowed me time to survey the damage. My truck had smashed through the wall, destroying the door, window, and air conditioner. It did not stop until it had shoved the bed and box springs into the bathroom. Rooms 6 and 10 appeared unharmed, however. Room 8 was now out of operation. At least it was a single-story structure. My rage erupted when I noticed Joe lingering near the motel. I may not be a genius, but I felt relieved I intervened. I refused to communicate with the cops. Surprisingly, the orange jumpsuit was less uncomfortable than I had feared. The court, however, was another matter. I wonder how the residents of Room 8 are doing. As I expected, I assumed the truck would simply crash through the window. Nevertheless, I couldn't stop smiling. Please excuse my lack of etiquette. I'm Vincent Clancy. I'm 23 years old and married to Jenny, a woman my age. After high school, we made several mistakes and did not accomplish much. We decided to marry, despite the fact that we didn't have an obvious baby bump yet. Jenny suffered a miscarriage 2 months later. Although it hurt me, Jenny took it very personally. After 6 months of counseling, we agreed to put off trying for a baby for a few years. However, her mood swings continue to this day. Furthermore, our abrupt wedding interrupted our intentions to attend college. Instead of getting a degree, I got a job to learn as an electrician. Jenny got work as a casual laborer, frequently serving as a receptionist. Her tasks range from 1 day to a week when someone goes on vacation. During my high school years, I played football without major embarrassments. Jenny, one of the 6 basketball cheerleaders, dutifully attended all of my football games, and I responded by cheering for her at every basketball game. Jenny's objective was likely to show her support for me, but my motivation was to protect her from unwelcome attention. The basketball players and their cronies were continuously attempting to win her over, but none of them were successful in changing my opinion. Joe Clark was the standout player on the basketball squad. Although we didn't have any close relationships or mutual friends, our social circles rarely crossed. Nonetheless, Joe occasionally made sexual remarks to Jenny, which she dismissed with a laugh. As someone prone to envy, I found it difficult to remain unaffected by his comments. While receiving honorable mention for the All-State team, Joe's accolades were limited to second-team All-Conference, owing primarily to our basketball team's poor performance. Despite this, Joe received a scholarship for books and meals from a nearby Division I college and participated in summer leagues on campus. Following graduation, to my amazement, he gained playing time once the season started. When he is not surrounded by turnover-prone colleagues, he demonstrates that he is a solid player. Joe frequently invited his buddies back for events like homecoming. including one particularly arrogant man named Nolan Larson, who enjoyed godlike status due to his team's postseason playoff competitiveness. Despite the fact that Jenny was married, Nolan continued to flirt with her, sometimes in my presence. Jenny shrugged it off, laughing occasionally. I had to intercede, which appeared to irritate Jenny. Joe and Nolan appeared to be inseparable. They were frequently seen together during Joe's travels to our town. To prevent their conduct, I usually made sure we were busy elsewhere. While homecoming only lasted a weekend, Jenny and I had frequent conflicts over our longer summer vacations. Are you my husband or my guardian? I'm capable of taking care of myself. Those guys are simply loudmouths. Can we drop it? She said. It's easier said than done if you're prone to envy. Jenny's obvious attractiveness exacerbated the frustration, drawing attention even when line dancing. Proud? Yes. Jealous? Yes. Crazy? I didn't think so. However, the situation was currently unsettled. Hello, Mr. Clancy, I am Scott Jensen. You have been assigned a lawyer for this court proceeding, said a young man not much older than me. He might be a few years older than me. The clock indicated that it was almost 2 in the afternoon. Good afternoon, Scott. You can call me Vince. How much do you remember about the truck accident, Vince? He asked. Everything, I replied. Did you intend to trigger the crash? Not really. I simply wanted to intimidate them. I had no idea a truck going at that speed could create such considerable damage, I said. According to the police report, you were traveling at approximately 30 miles per hour when you crashed into the motel room. That is not considered slow. Perhaps my rage caused me to accelerate, but I did not intend to smash through the wall. That should indicate something, I explained. Implausible. Currently, you are accused of 2 counts of vehicular assault. If Mr. Larson dies, the accusations against him may be upgraded to attempted murder, Scott said. Wow, sounds quite serious, I replied. Yeah, that air conditioner you hurled ended up hitting Mr. Larson in the lower back. He suffered numerous internal injuries, but it may have saved their lives. It knocked them off the bed just before your truck nailed them to the wall with the mattress. How is your wife doing? He asked. You mean Mrs. Larson? Well, Mr. Larson's influence on her damaged some facial bones. She's missing most of her front teeth. Mr. Larson has some major scars presently, if you get my drift. That is unfortunate. Aside from that, they're largely fine, I said, not even close. They each had several shattered bones. When the truck pushed everything into the bathroom, the mattress made little difference. Mr. Larson might perhaps become paralyzed, Scott clarified. I would pretend to be upset, but I'm not feeling it, Scott, I admitted. I got it, but how did you know they were in the room? I observed the room as they entered and closed the door. Number 8, I replied. Are you still getting the hang of it, Scott? I am becoming a little agitated now. Let me rephrase. How did you know you needed to be there at that exact time? He pressed. I had planned to surprise Jenny with a bouquet of flowers on our anniversary and to invite her out to lunch if she had time. She was covering for someone on maternity leave with a position that had no specified end date. As I turned the corner, I saw her standing outside her office building, waiting for the traffic signal to change. She climbed into a beautiful sports car that had just pulled up. I trailed, following them, I explained. So what occurred in the motel? Have you confronted them? Scott asked. Jenny got out of their automobile when it came to a stop near the check-in area. I was still waiting for a chance to turn into the parking lot off the main road. The sports car was parked around the premises, so I followed suit. Jenny exited the office a few minutes later and went to room number 8. He joined her soon after she arrived. The rest, as they say, was history, I said. So you're not sure what they were doing, Scott? Are you really new to this? Do you think they had planned a surprise anniversary meal for me? Sloppy seconds, Vince. I'm here to help you, but I need all the details. How long did you wait inside your truck before confronting them? He asked. I waited for a few minutes, I suppose. Then wrath blurred my judgment. I lost control. No excuses, complete meltdown. As I already stated, I simply wanted to scare them, I replied. Jenny gradually awoke from her extended sleep, jotting down her thoughts on the notebook provided by the nurse. Where am I now? What happened? She wrote. Mrs. Clancy, you are at Mercy General. A truck slammed into your room, resulting in multiple fractured bones and internal damage. The doctor has sedated you. If you are still experiencing discomfort, we can alter your medication. How do you feel? The nurse responded. Jenny immediately jotted down her next inquiries. My face is covered in bandages, and my mouth is immobile. Why am I restrained? I am unable to move my legs or my other arm. Your arm and legs are in casts. In fact, you're wearing a full-body cast. When you're ready, your face will be tightly wrapped, and your mouth wired shut. A detective needs to ask you a few questions. Should I call him? The nurse explained. Jenny scribbled back, yes. Several hours passed. Hello, Mrs. Clancy. I'm Detective Green. How's your memory? He asked. she replied with a faded pencil. Not too good, I suppose. I don't remember the accident. The nurse claimed that I was hit by a truck. What do you remember from Tuesday morning? He asked. She scribbled slowly. Do you mean today? Today is actually Friday. You have been here for 10 days. I think they put you in a medically induced coma, he clarified. With trembling hands, she wrote, My God. I dressed a little nicer and headed to work. What did you do for lunch? He asked. After a brief hesitation, she wrote, I went for lunch with a friend. And who is this friend? He pressed, throwing him under the bus. Nolan Larson. Where did you two eat lunch? I can't remember, she wrote. Does the name Hump Day Motel ring familiar? Tears started to saturate the bandages. I hired a room while Nolan was parked. Is that when I got hit by the truck? Do you wish? No, you were in the room with Mr. Larson when the truck crashed into it, he clarified. More scratches. Somebody lost control of their truck? Not exactly. It appears that your short encounter was not the anniversary surprise your husband expected, he said. With a trembling cast, she wrote, My anniversary? God, so your hubby did not endorse this strategy beforehand? Quickly, no, she scribbled. That's all I have right now. Good luck with your rehabilitation, he concluded. Mr. Larson, can you hear me? The nurse asked, taking a quick peek at the doctor. He hasn't reacted since being told about his spinal injuries and that he will never be able to walk again. The physician said that certainly ended his promising career abruptly. According to the nurses, getting affection from a married lady comes at a high price. My friends and family volunteered to pay my bail. I'll go once this chaotic ordeal is over. The threats to my life, which are putting an end to Nolan's career, are not worth keeping out of jail until my trial. I'll finish my time and then disappear. Try to catch me if you can. Jenny paid a visit about 10 weeks after the incident occurred. She arrived in a wheelchair but managed to get to the visitor's room on crutches. Jenny, you appear to be doing well, I said. Her tone was bland. I apologize for causing all of this. Did you actually mean to injure me physically? She asked. No, I only wanted to scare you and end your affair, I replied. How is your throat? That is not humorous, Vince. You need to believe me. I've never cheated on you before, and you halted before it got too far, she said. How did you find out? I had purchased some flowers for our anniversary and intended to surprise you at work. If you wanted out, why didn't you simply say it? I asked. I did not want to leave. I'm not sure why I did it. He was a star, and I believed his falsehoods. You are aware that he is currently incapacitated, right? She said. Yes, I heard. Maybe you should register him for the Special Olympics. You two would make an excellent team for the modified potato sack race, I quipped. I guess I deserve it. I just wanted to apologize for everything. I hope your trial runs nicely, she said. You seem to have quite the agenda that afternoon. While I was in the squad car, I saw Joe Clark looking around. How did he know you were going to be there? I asked. Vince, I'm deeply sorry, she stated, as tears streamed down her cheeks. To be honest, I was no longer jealous. When my feelings for Jenny evaporated, I stopped caring about her activities or who she was involved with. I felt annoyed at myself for being so ignorant. Hey, if you can find where they towed my truck, the flowers I purchased for our anniversary are probably still in the front seat. I heard you took a bite out of the huge star. How was it? I said. Jenny didn't respond. Instead, she made a foul gesture before getting up and limping back to her wheelchair. Visitors are always appreciated. They uplift your spirits. The weeks leading up to my trial appeared to merge together. I turned down all offers of bail. Just days before the trial, I agreed to a plea agreement. The idea of 1 year in prison appeared better than the severe sentence I may face if the jury found me guilty of attempted murder. After the basketball team lost, I received nasty letters after they missed the playoffs. I even got death threats. This is ludicrous, it's only a game. One of Scott's acquaintances started divorce proceedings on my behalf. It was under process, and all essential signatures had been gathered. I would soon be single. My lawyer unexpectedly showed up. Scott, it has been a while. How does my case look? I asked. Well, the district attorney is offering time served and 2 years of parole, he said. Tell Scott that as soon as I am released, I want to relocate. With continual death threats, parole will not suffice. Show him the letters. Consider exempt for parole violation. Consider negotiating something, I instructed. The next week, I was sent to a processing center to complete the remainder of my reduced term for the felony to which I had pled guilty. I'd be out in a few weeks, leaving the state on the same day. With my cash depleted, labeled a criminal, and no chance of a solid credit score for years, the future looked bleak. Jenny paid me another visit a few days before my planned release. She walked with a little limp but otherwise appeared normal. What brought you here, Jenny? I asked. We are now divorced. My last appointment did not go as expected. I would like to apologize once more, she said. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't be here. So Jenny, I'm in prison because I couldn't manage my fury. That is on me. I admit I lost control. I could have just left, filed for divorce, or disappeared, but I'm serving time for my deeds. I will not blame anyone else, I responded. Still, you were upset about what I was doing. Do you like my new teeth? She asked, as beautiful as ever. How about your boyfriends? I inquired. There's no need to be mean. I try to ignore any discussions or rumors regarding them. If I could make one wish, it would be for you to arrive with your flowers 10 minutes early. We'd still be together, and I wouldn't have made the worst mistake of my life, she admitted while stroking her hair. However, it appears that the journals you are praying to are not in the wish-granting business. Where do you work now? I asked. I work full-time as a receptionist at Stone Masonry, the same routine every day. No husband is waiting for me at home. It was all my fault. What are your plans after being released? She inquired. I am leaving the state. I still get hate mail weekly for wrecking Nolan's career. I'll probably attempt to stay low for a bit, I responded. Is there any room in your plans for me? She asked. Please answer this question. Why did you throw us away? I countered. I wish I could offer you a satisfactory explanation, but I do not believe I can, she said. And that's why I just want to go and start over on my own. But thank you for your offer. Remembering the positive moments has helped me get through this situation, I responded. Well, if you change your mind, you know where to find me. You're always welcome in my arms, she said quietly. Yes, right. Until next time, thanks but no thanks, I responded. Jenny's tears slowly poured down her cheeks. The van ride to the downtown bus station took place on a dreary day with dry streets that contrasted with the still moist sidewalks, mirroring my inner mood wonderfully. I used my bus fare to travel to the city where my parents lived. They had arranged for me to receive an old truck and a few $100, which was a generous gesture given their financial circumstances. 3 days and 2 states later, my cash was exhausted. Despite obtaining odd employment, the pay was insufficient for food and housing. Moving further in my beat-up truck, I resorted to begging on street corners to save enough money to buy a basic phone. Its major goal was to search for work openings online, which led me to a position with a temporary construction company in need of an electrician. We accepted cash payments on a daily basis. Nevertheless, I made relationships with new acquaintances. My once extroverted personality diminished. I temporarily stayed in a low-cost hotel room where the neighboring woman was soliciting, which piqued my interest. However, I must stress that this is not a solicitation but rather a possible customer. If only funds weren't so tight. She spotted me watching one evening and softly opened her robe. Ready for action, only if you accept IOs, she laughed. Let me think about it. No, so I guess I don't have much to give if you don't require an electrician. Too bad, you seem quite fit. I admire a man who can take leadership, she said. I'll remember that in the future. Actually, one of my clients mentioned a project that involves sparks. I am unable to communicate right now. I need to get ready for my next appointment, she replied. I chuckled. We were just anonymous people trying to make it through the night. Sleep was elusive as I imagined myself with her. Damn, I needed action. A few days later, I saw the escort again. She gave me a piece of paper. I told my client that I knew an electrician. Here is the number, she said. Thanks, you did not have to do that, I replied. I understand. See you later, she said as she entered her modern sedan and drove away. I needed to ask my colleagues at work about the rates for miscellaneous tasks. Armed with this information, I dialed the number. To my astonishment, a woman picked up. No, I certainly don't want this woman to discover that her husband was with a prostitute. Hi there, I got your number from a friend. I heard you're looking for an electrician, I said. Yeah, what are your rates and when are you available? She asked. Well, I typically work Monday to Friday until around 6. For small jobs, I can do evenings, otherwise weekends. Charging by the day is more cost-effective than hourly, I explained, hoping she wouldn't hang up as I mentioned rates. We introduced ourselves. She was Deb. I noted down her address and agreed to swing by on Saturday morning to assess the job. Arriving on Saturday, I was surprised to find it was a gated community. After confirming my arrival, I navigated through to her address. Only one car was in the garage, so her husband must be out golfing or something. Deb seemed to be around my mother's age, and I noticed she wasn't wearing any rings. Something didn't quite add up. She needed the ground fault outlet in the master bath replaced and wanted some light switches changed to motion sensors. There were pictures of young adults on her wall, but none with a father figure. I noticed only one pillow on her bed. It dawned on me that there might not be a husband in the picture after all. I provided Deb with an estimate, and she paid me in advance to purchase the necessary materials. After a quick trip to Lowe's, I finished the job well before lunchtime. While I was working, Deb kindly brought me a soda and a tray of cookies. Which of my acquaintances informed you that I needed an electrician? Deb inquired. I hesitated, unsure of how to respond. Should I mention that it was a woman I met at the questionable motel where I currently reside? I don't know her name. She overheard me discussing my profession as an electrician, and we briefly conversed. She's a strawberry blonde, around 5 feet 5 inches, I responded. I see. I have some friends who might be interested in your services. Would you mind if I passed along your contact information? Deb asked. That would be fantastic. I'm in dire need of funds at the moment, I admitted. What other skills do you possess? Deb asked playfully, with a hint of mischief in her eyes. Now thoroughly confused, I wondered if she was friends with the woman from the motel, or perhaps even romantically interested in me. My cheeks flushed with embarrassment. Attempting to reciprocate the flirtation, I replied, I'm young and not afraid to break a sweat. Deb chuckled at my response. I'll be sure to inform them, she said, smiling. My imagination desired more, but I hastily stashed the cash into my jeans and drove off. Not long after, I received a call from an unfamiliar number. Hey, glad I reached you. Deb passed me your number. I live a couple of doors down from her. Could you swing by? A female voice asked. Yeah, I'm just grabbing a quick bite. What's your address? After committing her address to memory, I finished my sandwich and headed over. It took some time to navigate past the security checkpoint since I only had an address, not a name. Eventually, I was granted entry. In the garage, 2 cars were parked with their doors wide open. I opted to park on the street. My beat-up car was undoubtedly the shabbiest vehicle in the neighborhood. When I timidly knocked on her door, I was met by a very cute, albeit young lady. You called about an odd job? I asked. She rolled her eyes. Mom, it's for you, she said, turning and leaving me standing there. When the lady of the house arrived, I could see the resemblance. You must be Vince. Do you handle tasks like replacing ceiling fans, installing motion-detecting light switches, and I need more outlets in the garage? She asked. Yes, 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 and yes. Have I covered everything? I replied. She smiled broadly. Then come this way. After noting down her list of requests, I jokingly asked, have you purchased everything you want installed? By the way, should I just call you Mom of the eye-rolling daughter? She chuckled in response. My name's Nancy. That's Jolene. She's waiting for her boyfriend and getting very annoyed. Sorry about that. No, I haven't bought anything yet. We can head to Lowe's and shop if you'd like. And what's the cost for installation? I quickly estimated the costs and handed her the figures. Let's go then. Would you like to drive? She offered. Sure, I said. However, her willingness to drive changed when she saw my old car. I'll drive. We can fit everything in my trunk and back seat, she said. Well, if you insist. Haven't ridden in a car as nice as yours in a long time, if ever, I replied. It took me until sundown to complete her projects. Jolene kept watching me, still upset about being stood up by her boyfriend. Between the 2 jobs, I made close to $11,000 after adding tips to my quotes. If you've never relied solely on the cash in your pocket day in and day out, you can't fully grasp the fear of being robbed when you have some money on you. I didn't sleep well, suspecting that everyone could somehow tell that I had $1,000 in my pockets just by looking at me. My first stop on Monday would be to open a checking account and get a debit card. Having some funds in my bank account, I decided to venture out on Monday night. The idea of paying an escort for sex excited me, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. Instead, I headed to the local bar and took a seat at the counter. I wasn't actively seeking company, but there were women there who were. Are you planning to stare at your drink all night? Some of us have made an effort to look good. And you haven't even glanced our way, said a woman. As I looked up and noticed her, I pretended to appraise her appearance. Well, you certainly look very nice, I said. She seemed to expect more from me. After a moment's pause, she responded, Is that all? Not going to ask me to dance or buy me a drink? Nah, it seems like you're on the hunt. I figured I'd let you take charge, I replied. She rolled her eyes and turned back to her friends. I imagined she was telling them what a jerk I was. I'd only come in for a drink and to wallow in self-pity. Can't a guy do that without being hit on? About 30 minutes later, the only woman not dancing walked over and sat beside me. You're not checking out the guys, so I'm guessing you're dealing with woman trouble, she remarked. Nope, not anymore. So what's on your mind? I replied. I'd rather not talk about it. I'm just enjoying my beer and the scenery. What about you? I asked. My friends and I like coming here to drink and dance. Guys always think they're going to get lucky, but that's not why we're here. Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of women looking for some excitement, even married ones, if you're into a bit of risk. In a small town like this, who would have thought such activities happened at night, she said. We don't see ourselves as a small town, so you must be one of those big city slickers, I replied. Yeah, I suppose. I never really got into the nightclub scene. Why is that? You're not bad to look at, she said. I got married early. Money was tight, so our nights out were spent at friends' parties or at the movies. Didn't work out, I presume, since I don't see a ring, she observed. Bingo, I confirmed. Well, I came here to dance, and if you're not going to ask me, I'll catch up with you later. Ashley is my name, she said. I'm Vince. Nice chatting with you, Ashley, I replied. I seem to be getting good at making women roll their eyes and shake their heads in disbelief. As I lay in bed that night, I realized it wasn't sex that I desired, it was companionship. Just talking with Ashley had lifted my spirits. I became somewhat of a regular at the local bar, having dinner there almost every evening. I wasn't looking to hook up, just to talk. The next time Ashley and her friends came in, I asked her to dance. Although invited to join them at their table, I declined. Conflicting emotions had me wondering which way was up. I received another referral call from the work I'd done for Deb. This lady lived in a different part of town. My Saturday morning was now booked. On the following Friday evening, I found myself perched on a bar stool, nibbling on a mix of pickles, hard-boiled eggs, and pretzels, when I felt a tap on my shoulder. Glancing up into the mirror, I spotted her standing there. Hey, Ashley, where's your group? I inquired. They're tending to the horses. Grab your meal and join me at a table, she instructed, turning to leave. Her tone sounded more like a command than a suggestion, so I complied. Can I get you a drink? I asked as I settled into my seat. No thanks. I'm aware money's tight for you, so I'll buy my own, she replied. And how do you know about my financial situation? I questioned. Well, let's see. Your attire, your car, your choice of food. Need I continue? She retorted. Busted. I lead a simple life now, I admitted. Let's get acquainted. I have a college degree, but find myself underutilized at the warehouse distribution center. I had to choose between moving away or making do here until something or someone came along. I'm not married, never have been, no steady boyfriend. Your turn, she disclosed. I got my high school girlfriend pregnant and missed out on college. We rushed into marriage, but she miscarried later. I caught her entering a motel and drove my truck right into the same room. Ended up spending some time in prison since the guy is now paralyzed. Got divorced while serving time, I confessed. Seriously? She exclaimed. I scrolled through my phone, searching the internet for the story, then passed it to her to read. After a moment, she returned it. So, still interested in getting to know each other? I inquired as she scrutinized my expression. Must have been quite a shock. You think? Surprisingly, I never intended to hurt them, but the law didn't see it that way. My heart turned to ice in that prison cell. Been out for about 1 month now. Looks can be deceiving. Anything else I should be aware of? She asked. I do electrical work for a guy who pays me cash. Lately, I've been taking on odd jobs on weekends for some extra money. Never had any run-ins with the law aside from the incident with your ex. Nope, not even a traffic ticket. I lost control that day and paid a heavy price. How much are you planning to spend here tonight? I asked. About 20. Why? She replied. Let's go to the thrift store and get you some decent clothes, she suggested. The devil and angel on my shoulders were in fierce debate. Woman trouble, woman trouble. I accepted her offer. She drove. Why are you doing this? I asked. Because you won't do it for yourself. You're too young, your life's just beginning, and it's time to move forward. And what's in it for you? If I still think you're a decent guy, I might ask you to take me out, she replied. Well, I ended up spending $30 that night, but got several shirts and a couple of pairs of pants. Ashley drove me back to my car. As I got out, I said, Thank you, Ashley. Can I take you out sometime? Thought you'd never ask. Wear one of your new outfits and meet me at the movie theater in the mall tomorrow night at 6, she said. It was a restless night of tossing and turning. As per my usual routine, I took on an odd job on Saturday morning. Despite having nearly $1,600 in the bank, I set aside $150 for the evening ahead. By 4 in the afternoon, I was ready to go, but I realized that the only pair of shoes I owned looked awkward with my upgraded jeans. So I made a trip back to the thrift store and managed to find a decent pair for less than $10. What I thought was a one-on-one date turned out to be a double date. Ashley arrived with her friend and her date, which perhaps wasn't unexpected given my past as a convicted felon. Despite feeling somewhat excluded from their conversations filled with college memories, I still enjoyed the movie and drinks afterward. Ashley seemed oblivious to my discomfort. Although I appreciated the peck on the lips, it was the hug that I truly cherished. It was the simple gesture I had missed the most. Before parting ways, I slipped Ashley a piece of paper with a brief note and my phone number on it. You have my number. I don't have yours. Call me if I haven't scared you away, I said. She whispered, I will, as she tucked the paper into her cleavage. Initially, I was pleased with how things were progressing, but it didn't last. On Tuesday night, while filling up my truck with gas, I spotted Ashley walking arm in arm with another guy into a nearby restaurant. Although our relationship had only been platonic, I found myself overwhelmed with emotions. The anger, heartache, and feelings of helplessness all came back. Just when I thought I had moved on from the pain caused by Jenny, her memory stabbed me once again. My fight-or-flight response kicked in, and I made the decision that I needed to find a better situation elsewhere. I wasn't prepared for any sort of relationship, and it wasn't Ashley's fault. Since my motel room was booked until Friday, I had a few days to figure out where to go next. The decision became clear when the person I was working for mentioned they knew someone who needed an electrician. By Friday morning, I was on the road with 500 miles ahead of me. Without much thought, I picked up my phone while driving. "Hey Vince, where have you been?" Ashley asked. "I've taken a job in another city. Since you never called, I couldn't inform you about my departure." "Thanks for helping me break out of my rut," I said. "When will you be back?" she asked. "I don't think I will, but I'll add you to my contacts just in case our paths cross again," I replied. Her voice sounded somber, maybe hurt. "I suppose I should have reached out sooner," she said. "No worries. I appreciated the time we spent together," I responded. After a few more minutes of reminiscing, my time with Ashley came to an end. Although my parents wished for me to come home during the holidays, they understood why it wasn't the best choice for me. In the following years, sooner or later, another talented basketball player would emerge, and memories of Nolan would fade into history. I went out with a few women and even attended a swap party with one of them. I enjoyed the variety of experiences, but it hindered any desire to spend more time with any single person. Being reduced to someone's mere companion at a party was disheartening. Cold fish, that's what one of my dates labeled me. I had safeguarded my heart, keeping it securely hidden away, just like keeping a winning horse out of competitions. Keeping my heart out of sight, in short, it remained unscathed. It took 3 years before I visited my parents again. Things were going smoothly, allowing me to afford a flight home. With the basketball team making the playoffs, it felt safer. Nobody brought up Jenny, for which I was grateful. The return flight was uneventful, and I even engaged in conversation with a woman my age on the plane. However, no names or phone numbers were exchanged. "My name is Heather, and I'm employed at the cafeteria of a large office building downtown, just off Broadway. I'm currently single, as I haven't encountered Mr. Right yet. There's this intriguing loner who frequents the cafeteria daily without fail. He always grabs a slice of cherry pie. His name tag reads Vince, and although he works for the investment bank, his attire doesn't scream banker. There's just something about him that piques my interest." Noticing Vince's lack of rings, I decided to take a chance. One day, as he was returning his tray, I concocted an excuse to linger. When he approached, I discreetly passed him a note with my phone number and a simple message, "Call me sometime, Heather." He smiled, and I reciprocated before he nodded in acknowledgement. We arranged to meet for dinner a few nights later. Nothing extravagant, just a cafe near my place. Our conversation was revealing. Vince confessed to working as an electrician and handyman for the investment firm, but the bombshell was his past conviction as a felon, which he revealed through an article on his phone. "Vince, this happened 4 years ago. Do you still miss her?" I inquired. "Not really," he replied. "So why is someone like you without a girlfriend?" I pressed. "Risk versus reward. If I open up and get hurt again, will I handle it gracefully? Last time I tried, even though we hadn't even kissed, I caught her with another guy, and it all came flooding back," he explained. "That was 3 years ago, right?" I clarified. "Yes, since then I've been avoiding relationships," he admitted. "All right, I understand. We'll take things slow, but only if we communicate openly. Misunderstandings could be disastrous," I proposed. "But what if I'm still not interested in a relationship?" he queried. "Then we won't meet for dinner tomorrow or go see a movie afterward," I countered. I could sense his desire in his gaze as he reached across the table. I reciprocated, intertwining our hands. For a moment we sat in silent understanding. "See you tomorrow," Vince softly murmured as he left the cafe. Butterflies fluttered within me, hinting that perhaps Vince could indeed be Mr. Right. Was it simple? Not at all. I'm a sociable person, and Vince needed constant reassurance that I belonged to him and no one else. He values cuddling as much as he does sex. I can spend hours reading a book while sitting in his lap as he watches sports. After we became intimate, Vince's possessiveness intensified. It wasn't easy, but we managed to overcome it. Understanding the reasons behind his behavior made it easier for me to accept him. Now we've been married for a decade. I've declined all dance requests, except from his father at our wedding. I don't go out for girls' nights and always invite Vince to join me when I go shopping with friends. We have a 6-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son. We also experienced a miscarriage in between, which led us to seek counseling. With the help of the counselor, I persuaded Vince to attend extra sessions. He's been through a lot, but he's mine. I doubt I'll find another man as loving as Vince. Understanding his past, I remind myself every day never to give him a reason to doubt my love. That expletive we commonly express following a car accident? It's a reminder of how quickly life can change, but it's also a testament to the resilience we can find in love and understanding. Jenny's reckoning the hospital room smelled of antiseptic and regret. My body was a prisoner in plaster, my jaw wired shut, my thoughts trapped in a haze of painkillers and shame. The detective had come and gone, his questions like knives slicing through the fog in my mind. I told him I didn't remember much about that day at the Hump Day Motel, and that was partly true. The crash itself was a blur, a deafening roar, a flash of chaos, then darkness. But the why? The why was crystal clear, and I lied about it. Not because I wanted to hide from him, but because admitting the truth meant facing myself. I wasn't always this person. Once, I was the girl who cheered at Vince's football games, who laughed at his dumb jokes, who dreamed of a life bigger than this small town. We were kids when we fell in love, barely 18, with no clue how the world worked. When I got pregnant, it felt like a sign, a chance to build something real. But then I lost the baby, and it wasn't just a miscarriage. It was like losing a piece of my soul. Vince grieved, sure, but he could move on. For me, it was different. Every time I looked in the mirror, I saw failure, a body that couldn't do the one thing it was supposed to. We went to counseling, but the words felt hollow. Vince threw himself into his electrician job while I drifted from one temp gig to another, answering phones, smiling for strangers, pretending I was fine. At home, we barely talked, not because we didn't love each other, but because we didn't know how to bridge the gap. I started to feel invisible, like I was just a shadow in his life. That's when Nolan came back to town. He wasn't the same cocky basketball star from high school anymore. He was polished, confident, with a flashy car and stories about college life. At first, it was just harmless flirting at a homecoming event. He'd tease me, and I'd laugh it off, same as always. But then he started showing up more, dropping by the office where I was temping, texting me about nothing. It wasn't love, not even close. It was the way he looked at me, like I was someone worth seeing. For the first time in years, I felt alive. The day of our anniversary, I didn't plan to end up at that motel. Nolan offered to take me to lunch, said it'd be quick, just a break from the monotony. But when he pulled into the motel parking lot, I didn't say no. Maybe I was curious. Maybe I was angry. At Vince, at myself, at the life I'd settled for. I told myself it was just a moment, something I could walk away from. I didn't know Vince was watching. I didn't know he'd drive his truck through the wall. Now, lying here, I can't stop replaying it. The guilt is heavier than the casts on my legs. I didn't just betray Vince, I broke us. And for what? A fleeting thrill with a man who's now paralyzed, his life as shattered as mine. The nurses whisper about me when they think I'm asleep. She got what she deserved, one said. Maybe they're right, but I don't want to be this person anymore. When I get out of here, I'm going to find a way to make things right. Not with Vince, because I know that's gone, but with myself. I've started writing in the notebook the nurse gave me, jotting down every mistake, every regret. It's not much, but it's a start. I owe it to the girl I used to be, the one who believed in love and second chances. I owe it to her to try. Thank you for taking the time to hear today's story. If you enjoyed this essay, please like it and subscribe if you have not already.